Hey, what's up, family? I'm here today. It's NBA All-Star Weekend. Just got done tonight watching the I guess what they call it, the World beat up on the U.S. in the rookie sophomore game challenge. Getting ready for tomorrow night. Got it's kind of the main events these days, the three-point contest, and we'll see what the dunk contest looked like without Zach LaVine this year. So looking forward to that. And then, of course, the All Star game on Sunday. But what I really wanted to talk about today is, even though it's more than halfway through the season, the All Star break is kind of like the halfway point of the season. So, you know, who's everybody got for the MVP? At this halfway slash, three-fifths mark of the season. So, before the season started, I was making my circuits of predictions or whatever, different shows I was on. I called myself going out on a limb. I picked James Harden to be the MVP for this year. That was my preseason prediction. And, it was kind of going out on a limb because last year, he didn't look good. The team didn't look good. But I know when me and Jason Rubin did our preseason predictions, we both predicted Houston to be up, in the top three, I believe, top three, top four teams in the West this year, because we both felt like they was going to bounce back. And I know I felt like, Harden was a perfect fit with Mike D'Antoni. I wrote an article about it on the Hoops Lab, actually, on my blog, thehoopslab.rotowire.com, entitled something like James Harden and the Mike D'Antoni effect on point guards. And pulled out my little numbers and I even predicted. I said, I looked at all of D'Antoni's past point guards and I looked at what their stats did their first year with D'Antoni, and I concluded that Harden's numbers for the year were going to be like, I don't know, 30 something points, 13, 14 assists. It was some big number. Y'all can double check me by looking on the Hoops Lab because the article's still there. But the point was that I thought Harden was going to be this year's MVP as the season started. But of course, I also paid attention to the fact that Russell Westbrook was going to be running the ship by himself in Oklahoma City, and I had seen what he had done these last couple years whenever Kevin Durant was out. So I had wanted to write before the season started an article comparing Westbrook to Dwayne Wade from like 2010 when he was doing kind of a man alone carry job at the Miami Heat and he was putting up big numbers, and I believe that was the year he put up the highest single season regularized adjusted plus minus offensive score that we've seen calculated over the last, I don't know, 15, 20 years that we've had the stats. So, I was going to make a comparison piece to see how I thought Westbrook might compare to Wade that season. So I was expecting big things out of Westbrook too. I think they probably would have been my preseason 1-2 in the MVP vote. And right now, halfway through, they probably still are 1-2. I replied to a tweet the other day. Somebody asked, who did I think was the second best player in the NBA behind LeBron? And I do think LeBron's still the best player in the NBA. And the player that I picked for the second best is not in this podcast because the guy I picked for second best is Draymond Green. And, it was kind of a hot take, but I think I could support it. But realistically speaking, he's not going to win the MVP. It's going to come down to Harden versus Westbrook. So why don't we look a little bit closer at the two of them today? I ran another article in the Hoops Lab on Friday, comparing the two stylistically, called it the Hulk versus the Beard, stylistically, because they say the style makes the fight, right? And of course, a few years ago, they were both on the same team. You could argue that the three leaders in the MVP vote right now might be all former current Oklahoma City Thunder that were on that 2012 team, because Durant's probably up there in the voting as well. But as I was looking at the styles of these two, I was trying to sum them up in one word. And so for Russell Westbrook, I came up with relentless. I've written about that in the past, but his style is just so, I don't know, it's just like, his style is just so physical, and it's like, like angry. That's why they started calling him the Hulk. He looks like he's just gonna Hulk smash every time down the court. And he's just relentless. Like even if he misses, he's gonna try to get the rebound, and if he missed that, he's gonna try to get the steal. And if he doesn't get the steal, he's gonna get back and get the defensive rebound and sprint back down the court again and go try to dunk on somebody and scream. And he's like a relentless player. And I associate that, players of the past, Jordan could be relentless like that. Allen Iverson could be relentless like that. And so that's what I think of when I think of Westbrook. With Harden, the word I came up with, it's actually two words, was deceptively inevitable. And I came up with that, I even, in my article, I linked back to an old article that I had written about James Harden when he was in the Las Vegas Summer League when he was a rookie. And it was funny, the game I watched, he had 22 points, which was impressive, but at the time, I wrote that I wasn't sure that his game was going to translate to the NBA because he wasn't creating any separation. He was doing just enough. He would get an angle, get past his man and score, or get an angle, get past his man and get fouled. And I was like, well, if that's what you're doing in the summer league against guys that aren't really going to be there, like, what are you going to do in the real thing, against the big competition? Turns out he does the exact same thing. He's not like Westbrook. He's not going to try to sprint past everybody and, jump over everybody. He got that old man game, kind of like a guard version of Paul Pierce. He going to do just enough to get a shoulder past you, and he's got a big body. You can't recover once he's past you, and he's going to carry you all the way to the rim. Either make the layup, or as he shoots, he's going to throw his head back and he's going to draw the foul, and there's nothing you can do about it. So it's like the two of them do it really differently, but they have a lot of really similar results. Especially once you start looking at the numbers. So these are their box score stats per 100 possessions. Westbrook is averaging 44 points per 100 possessions, which is absurd. But he's taking 33.8 shots to get there. He's also averaging 14.9 free throw attempts, so heavily, drawing the foul. Shooting 54.5 true shooting percentage, which isn't terrible. It's a lot more efficient than somebody like Iverson was, but it's not elite either. 14.3 assists and 14.8 rebounds. Absurd. 2.3 steals and 7.7 turnovers. Then you get to Harden. He's also high volume. They have a lot of similarities. Harden's scoring a little bit less, 38.6 points per 100 possessions, but he's only taking 25 shots. He's a lot more efficient as a scorer. His true shooting percentage is 61.5%, which is elite. Similar assists. Harden's also averaging a triple double per 100 possessions, but with fewer rebounds, 10.9 rebounds instead of 14.8. But the same number of turnovers, 7.7. So what do those stats tell us? On the surface, it tells us that they're both really high volume across the board, and that maybe at a glance you would say Westbrook is better at ending possessions because he gets a lot of rebounds and a few more steals, whereas Harden is more efficient as a scorer. And if you go to the next step, kind of the box score based advanced stats, you see that play out, because Westbrook's a little bit ahead in PER, which is heavily influenced by scoring volume. He scores more, but Harden is ahead in offensive rating, which is an efficiency-based stat. He shoots a lot more efficiently. Same with win shares. Harden got a lot more offensive win shares because, like O rating, they come from efficiency. Or on the other hand, Westbrook is leading in the box score plus minus, which try to emulate real plus minus numbers and give more weight to things like rebounds and steals and things like that. So, what that tells me is that the kind of composite box score advanced stats can't agree on which one's better, which is fine because I like to look at those, but they aren't my primary decision makers anyway. I like to look at actual impact, as measured by plus minus stats, or maybe, with or without you stats, something like that. So if we look at their actual teams, and this comes back to something I said in the article, I think that Westbrook is the better defender of the two, but that Harden is no longer a whole at that end of the court. Last year Harden really didn't look good on defense, and a lot of it appeared to be effort. But this year he's putting in more effort, such that he's not like Isaiah Thomas, who I think we'll talk about it in another video. But Isaiah Thomas measures out as the worst defensive player in the league by like a lot. Harden's not like that, but he's not as good on defense as Westbrook. The thing is, though, for players like them, point guards, lead guards, they're primarily offense. Their impact's going to come primarily from offense. So I don't know that their defensive stature either way is going to be the decision maker for me. I think it's just really all about their offense. And Westbrook this season is doing one of those ultra carry jobs. He's taking a team that would not be down into the lottery, obviously, without him. And he's doing everything for him. His usage is off the charts. I showed the video, showed a figure in the Westbrook versus Jordan article that I wrote for Nylon Calculus and for the Hoops Lab. And I pointed out how Westbrook's usage is like out on an island, just we've never seen anything like that before. And the closest thing to Westbrook's usage is Harden this year, But so Westbrook's carrying his team. He's doing everything, but he's carrying them from like terrible to essentially mediocre. Their team offensive rating is 107.4. It's like middle of the pack for the NBA. Harden, on the other hand, is taking a team. Not sure what they would be without him. Somebody argued on Twitter with me today that they would be eighth seed without him. I don't believe that. I don't think they'd be a playoff team without him. But he's lifting them up into, at least on offense, into the elite area. They've got a 114.5 O rating, which is second in the NBA. And so, that's not shocking. It's a Mike D'Antoni system. D'Antoni does elite offenses. But it's also not shocking based on their skill sets. Westbrook with that heavy volume scoring, but at lower efficiency, it's hard to scale that up at that kind of usage into an elite team offense. Whereas Harden, his offense is more scalable because he can shoot, he can space the floor, he can be making an impact even without the ball, and he does finish efficiently, which means that that helps the team to be more efficient considering the crazy usage that he's doing. So I think, and actually, so let's talk about their actual real plus minus numbers. Those are influenced by the box scores, which isn't ideal, but they're easier to calculate mid-season before the season's over. And so offensive real plus minus, Harden and Westbrook are 1-2. Harden is 1, Westbrook is 2. Westbrook's overall real plus minus is a little higher because his defensive score is a little higher. But again, for me, I think the two of them, it's all about offense. And this is a case where stylistically and by the numbers, it kind of agrees to me that Harden and what he's able to produce as far as his efficiency and translating that into team results is a little more valuable on offense, and thus to me overall this year than Westbrook has been. I think the way I sum it up in my article from Friday is that if I had to pay money to see one or the other of them live, I would absolutely pay to see Westbrook. He puts on a show unlike anything I think probably anybody in the NBA is giving right now. But if I can only pick one of them from this year to build my team around, as of the All-Star break, that one would be James Harden. So he's my pick for MVP as of the All-Star break. Who's yours? Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Check out some of the articles that I mentioned. They should be linked below. Check me out on the Hoops Lab, hoopslab.rotowire.com. And give me a follow on Twitter at Professor DRZ. That's Professor Driz. All right, y'all.